New reporting here after that unprecedented FBI search at the home of former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Tonight, ABC News has learned that the FBI told the Secret Service just 45 minutes before they arrived, and then the Secret Service telling Mar-a-Lago staff just moments before those agents arrived. Sources telling ABC News the search is related to allegations the former president improperly removed documents when he left the White House. They were brought to Mar-a-Lago, including classified material. And it wasn't the first time federal agents had been to Mar-a-Lago, their first visit in the spring. We have learned tonight that it was a staff member at Mar-a-Lago who called Eric Trump, and Eric Trump who then called his father to tell him about the search. The former president was in New York, seen leaving Trump Tower last night, and tonight here the first words from the former president while calling into a political event, saying, "Another day in paradise. This is a strange day." Sources tell ABC News the Department of Justice had started a grand jury investigation in May about alleged mishandling of classified information. Tonight, heavily armed Secret Service agents stand guard at the gates of Mar-a-Lago, and this evening, former President Trump issuing a new statement calling the search a horrible thing. Tonight, what we have now learned about how this unfolded, where they searched, and about pressure mounting on the Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray, appointed by former President Trump, to somehow explain this highly unprecedented raid. Dan Abrams is standing by on this, but we begin tonight with our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, leading us off.
We're learning new details about the FBI's extraordinary raid on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property in Palm Beach. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News that 45 minutes before the FBI showed up, the local FBI field office in Miami gave the Secret Service team in Mar-a-Lago a heads up. The sources say the Secret Service agents did not notify anybody on the Mar-a-Lago staff until just as the FBI agents were arriving. When they did arrive, the FBI agents were escorted into the property by the Secret Service. Sources close to Trump say the club's general manager then placed a call to Eric Trump, who alerted his father. Neither Trump nor any members of his family were there at the time. In his written statement, Trump said the agents, quote, even broke into my safe, which Trump sources say is located in his office at Mar-a-Lago. Sources say the FBI remained at the property for most of the day. Other than his written statement, Trump's only public comment was a muted one when he called in for a Sarah Palin campaign event.
Another day in paradise. This was a strange day. You probably all read about it.
ABC News has learned this wasn't the first time federal law enforcement visited Mar-a-Lago on this matter. A smaller team of agents visited in the spring while Trump was there, met with his lawyers, and reviewed some documents. Since the raid, neither the Justice Department nor the FBI has made any comment. And the White House press secretary says President Biden knew nothing about it.
The president was not briefed, was not aware of it. No one at the White House was given a heads up. No, that did not happen.
When asked recently if former presidents are shielded from prosecution, Attorney General Merrick Garland said this.
No person is above the law in this country. Nothing stops us.
Even a former president.
I don't know how to, maybe I'll say that again. No person is above the law in this country.
Republicans, meanwhile, are for the most part rallying around Trump and attacking the DOJ and FBI. Kevin McCarthy threatening the Attorney General that he will be under investigation if Republicans win control of the House in November.
You should never use the Justice Department on a political whim like this. And I think that's the real question that we're looking at.
And former Vice President Pence criticized the, quote, unprecedented search and demanded Attorney General Garland give a full accounting. While DOJ has a policy of not commenting on ongoing investigations, Trump was given a copy of the warrant used by the FBI, which would explain the reasons for the raid. The former acting Attorney General from the Obama administration called on him to release it.
If you believe this is such an abuse, let us see the warrant and let us decide for ourselves.
That's really interesting. Let's get right to John Karl again tonight, who reported on this as we were on the air in the West last night. John, two questions for you. Former President Trump out with a new statement tonight, calling this, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, a horrible thing. But I wanted to go back to your reporting there on the warrant. Does the former president have the warrant, the former President Trump, listing some of what they were looking for in that point that was just made there? Could he release it as part of an explanation if he wanted to?
David, he does have it, and he absolutely could release it. There is nothing stopping him from doing so. The warrant would provide some details on what they were looking for. It's not as detailed as the affidavit. There's an affidavit that would have been presented to the judge that would establish probable cause that a search would yield evidence of a crime. Trump has not seen that, but he most definitely does have the affidavit.
Yeah, the affidavit would be much more detailed.
I mean, he most definitely does have the warrant.
The warrant,
he does
yes.
have the warrant.
We followed you there, John. In the meantime, growing pressure on the Department of Justice and the FBI, really from both sides of the aisle tonight, to release some sort of explanation for this unprecedented raid.
Yeah, this is coming not just from Republicans who are supportive of Trump. This is coming from people that have been quite critical of Trump, including Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, one of his most prominent Republican critics, is calling on the Biden administration to release all the documents justifying this raid. And he offered a warning, David. Listen to what Larry Hogan said. He said, if the federal government cannot ultimately provide overwhelming evidence that actions were absolutely necessary, then it will only undermine faith in democracy and the rule of law and further divide Americans. So that a warning coming from somebody who has been quite critical of Donald Trump.
All right, John Carl leading us off tonight. John, thank you for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
I want to bring in attorney and contributing columnist at the Washington Post, George Conway. George, great to see you this morning. Look, please, let's just take a step back because this is so unusual. We haven't seen anything like this before. So when you heard that the FBI executed a search warrant at the home of the former president, what questions does it raise for you? What standards in your mind must have been met?
Well, obviously, they have to meet the basic standard of any search warrant. You have to show probable cause that someone, might not be Donald Trump or could be Donald Trump, committed a crime, and probable cause that there is evidence of that crime in the location being searched. And you have to particularize exactly what it is that you're looking for, and you have to put that all in an affidavit that a federal judge reviews, and then it makes a determination that there is sufficient cause to invade someone's privacy and to come into someone's home and to do this. That's one thing. But again, this is a former president, and the political consequences, the national consequences of going over your skis on this are just too huge for anything but the most significant evidence, I think, that would justify Merrick Garland, who is a cautious and a cautious person, to authorize this, and it had to be authorized by him personally. And so you have to ask, what is it about this particular circumstance that has led the Justice Department to this step? Obviously, they don't quite trust him because they obviously don't think that subpoenaing him or requesting documents from him will get them the answers they want. But what is it that they want? Well, it probably isn't just that he took some documents in a rush and packed them in 15 boxes and shipped them to Mar-a-Lago without focusing on what was in them. Okay, there's got to be something more. Maybe it's the nature of the materials, or it could be that he sent some of them back and represented that. I'm not just speculating here. I mean, he's not the most honest person in the world and not the most meticulous in obeying laws and rules. Maybe he didn't send them all back, and they're suspicious that he did it. That he didn't send them all back. In which case, he might be potentially liable for making false statements through his lawyers to the National Archives. We don't know. Again, we don't know. We need to see what the FBI presented to this federal judge. It could be that some documents were destroyed. It could be something completely different. It could be that maybe there's some overlap between the materials he kept in January 6th, that's even possible, although there's no indication of that. So, but there is something here that made this quite more than just somebody mistakenly or accidentally or carelessly packing 15 boxes of materials and sending them to Mar-a-Lago. His excuse would be, hey, I'm President of the United States. I didn't focus on this. I was busy. But, hey, what he was busy at was launching a coup.
The narrative coming from his camp, coming from his son Eric, is this is a continuation of the National Archive issue. Would there potentially be an interest in putting that narrative out there, George, if really it might be something different? And would they necessarily even know if it was something different?
They may not necessarily know, because the search warrant could be for all documents that were unlawfully retained pursuant in violation of the Presidential Records Act. And that could, basically everything he took from Mar-a-Lago. To Mar-a-Lago from the White House. And that could include January 6th materials. It may not. It just depends on what they think is there. And obviously they have some basis to conclude that there's something interesting there. And they took out, apparently, boxes and boxes of materials, which suggests that maybe he did not return all the materials, or maybe there is something in there that indicates that some nefarious intent was he had some nefarious intent in bringing the documents to Mar-a-Lago. We just don't know at this point.
If there were a classified document of some kind there that the former president had improperly kept, manipulated, destroyed, whatever, how and why would it be in the national interest for the FBI to get its hands on that?
Well, that's if there are classified documents there, or evidence that classified documents have been mishandled or mistreated or destroyed, that's a very serious thing. People have gone to jail for that, and people have gotten convicted of that. And if he did it with a large number of documents, and I think there's been some reporting that even the list of classified documents is so long, is long, and it's the documents. Some of the documents may have been so sensitive that they couldn't actually describe the document without making a list that was classified. There could be some very serious materials with some serious national security interests in jeopardy because of Donald Trump's carelessness, or worse.
Why should this be viewed, or should it not be viewed, as these DOJ probes encircling or getting tighter around Donald Trump?
Oh, it absolutely is. The fact that, they have crossed, I hate the metaphor because people are using it, it's getting overused, they crossed the Rubicon here. This is a very serious, it's unprecedented for a search to, not even San Clemente, Richard Nixon's house in San Clemente was searched by the FBI, as far as I know. And so it's just a remarkable thing to see that the FBI and the Justice Department would take such a step. And the fact that a federal judge approved it shows that, hey, they've got something there. We just don't know what it is.
It sounds like you're saying this is not very Merrick Garland-y, for lack of a better word. This not right?
No, well, it is Merrick Garland-y in the following sense. He truly believes, as he has said repeatedly, that no one is above the law. And so this is an example of that. But it's also, it is not necessarily Merrick Garland-y in the fact that it's no matter what the predicate is, it's a bold step. So, he's not someone who does things rashly. So you have to tend to conclude that there is something there behind the curtain that would surprise us or shock us or something.
How seriously should Donald Trump be taking this, do you think, George?
I think any time the Federal Bureau of Investigation comes to your house early in the morning and knocks on the door and starts rummaging through your home with a list of things that it's specifically looking for, you should be worried.
You have heard, no doubt, since...
And I'd be worried if I was him.
Look, we keep saying that Donald Trump confirmed the execution of this warrant. He didn't confirm it. He announced it. Donald Trump is the one who got out in front of this and said, hey, the FBI was here searching. So in a way, he has tried to control this story from yesterday afternoon into evening. And part of that, we have seen Trump allies and a lot of Republicans say, hey, wait a second, this is a witch hunt. We've heard cries to defund the FBI, people saying this is what happens in third world countries, including sitting U.S. senators, Republican senators. What do you think of that criticism, George?
It's just absolutely disgraceful. These are the people who are complaining about people saying defund the police when the laws are being applied to people who don't hold political power and don't have billions of dollars. And yet now they want to defund the FBI on absolutely no basis at all, because they don't actually know what the facts are. They have no idea what the facts are. It's simply that their fearless leader his conduct has been called into question. And even though he have every reason to distrust Donald Trump. We have every reason to believe that he is a pathological liar and somebody who bends the law, bends the truth, distorts the truth. They are basically saying that that law enforcement is engaging in some kind of a political attack. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's not. There's no reason to believe that, and there's no basis for them to assert that.
They're also saying, Donald Trump supporters, look at how Hillary Clinton was treated, right? And look at how Donald Trump was treated, making this apples to apples case as they see it. And they're saying that Donald Trump is being treated differently. How do you see it?
I think Hillary Clinton would beg to differ. I mean, she went through a very lengthy investigation of a year and a half. She testified on this actually cooperated with a lengthy, intrusive investigation of her conduct, and ultimately, some people believe it cost her the 2016 presidential election. So she didn't get exactly off scot-free, and that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we don't know where this is going to lead yet, and we don't know what the evidence is. This may not lead necessarily to a conviction of some sort, or it might. We don't know what he did, and we don't know, we don't know how sensitive these documents were compared to the various emails that were on Secretary Clinton's private server. We just don't know any of that. And to prejudge it in that way is just intensely hypocritical, because these people are the same people who were saying, lock her up. And so if you were to apply the same standards here, they should be saying, lock him up.
George Conway, great to have you here helping us understand what we know and, frankly, what we don't know or still need to find out in this story, because there are so many questions out there. Thank you so much, George.
I wonder what you make of this Wall Street Journal reporting tonight that somebody may have tipped off investigators about there still being more classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. We've played a lot of the montages all throughout the day of the idea of, remember this comment about the Fifth Amendment, but I also remember a lot of comments about those who might be leakers, the idea of snitches, the idea of people informing, and the problem with that. What do you think his reaction is going to be to this reporting if that is in fact the case?
Well, it's definitely the case. How did they know? Look, as you stated accurately, when I received the knock on the door from the FBI, from the agents with the warrant, I opened up the door, I greeted them, despite what Donald said in my specific case. And of course, he's parroting it now, which is that they ransacked the place, they destroyed it, that they were unprofessional. It's absolutely not true. The FBI is always professional, they're courteous, and they're respectful. And I'm sure they treated Mar-a-Lago exactly the same. All right, so rest assured, it's once again Donald playing the victim. But as it relates to what's going on here, Donald knows that there are leakers or people who are, I'd like to say, doing the right thing for the right reason. I don't believe so. But whatever it is, every single person that he comes in contact with, and that includes his own children, he has to be wondering, who is it that provided the information to the government for them to be able to obtain this warrant? Because you could bet your bottom dollar, in order to get the warrant, this thing was scrutinized, and significantly.
I also would assume that even if somebody were to tip off, there had to have been some level of corroboration, because, unlike, say, the average person, and we know full well that part of the absurdity of the idea of, if this can happen to Trump, it can happen to anyone, is that it happens to everyday civilians all of the time. I mean, the idea of an executing of a search warrant happens all of the time. The idea, the novelty is that it happened to a former president here